Friends, on behalf of My Retired Life Foundation, ये सबकी सुनो प्रोग्राम सितंबर मंथ का जो है आपका स्वागत है। और इस प्रोग्राम का सेंट्रल थीम को आपको मालूम ही है, वो यूनिकनेस ऑफ इंडिया। एनी वन पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट ऑफ यूनिकनेस ऑफ इंडिया पीपल आर गोइंग टू टॉक ऑन। और इस प्रोग्राम में कोई एंकर नहीं है। वी हैव केप्ट दिस पर्टिकुलर प्रोग्राम विदाउट एन एंकर. We are just facilitating, so we request everybody to kindly follow the orders. I will just say one line and then you can just come and share your views actually. So we are trying to experiment with a program without an anchor. तो आज के प्रोग्राम के पहले साथी हमारे यहाँ मोदी साहब। आके मोदी साहब आप आइए और अपनी प्रस्तुति दीजिए।
थैंक यू सर। मैंने अपना टॉपिक दिया था इंडियन कल्चर, जिसका हिंदी अनुवाद होता है भारतीय संस्कृति। इसको मैं ऐसे के रूप में नहीं बोलूँगा, स्पीच के रूप में नहीं। एक कोशिश की है कविता के रूप में इसको ढालने की, तो अच्छा लगे तो ठीक है, बुरा लगे तो हमारे साथ इसको बियर कीजिएगा। तो शुरू करता हूँ। भारतीय संस्कृति की एक लंबी कहानी है। 5000 वर्षों की यह संस्कृति पुरानी है। मेरी आवाज आ रही सर?
आ रही है।
विश्व प्राचीन संस्कृति ये तो बहुत पुरातन है, इसलिए भी इसको कहते संस्कृति सनातन है। समकालीन संस्कृतियां सुमेरियन, मिस्र, यूनान, बेबीलोनियन, खालदी प्रवृत्ति, चीन, रोम, ईरान, चीनी संस्कृति छोड़ सब काल गाल में समा गए, पर भारतीय संस्कृति भी वरदान अमरता पा गए। हजारों वर्षों बाद भी मूल रूप में जिंदा और निरंतर है। इन विस्मित संस्कृतियों में और इसमें बस यही तो अंतर है। अनेक बार घात प्रतिघात सहे, मिटा नहीं अस्तित्व है, बदला नहीं मूल रूप इसका, क्योंकि यह स्थायित्व है। जगत गुरु था विश्व का भारत, श्रीलंका से ईरान तक, बोर्नियो बाली द्वीप से लेकर अफगानिस्तान तक। प्राचीन काल से विदेशी जातियां यहाँ आते गए, कुछ यहाँ शासक बने, फिर सभी यहाँ यहीं पर बस गए। आर्य अनार्य तक हून की संस्कृति का ले प्रकाश, इनके योगदान से आधुनिक संस्कृति का हुआ विकास। सहनशीलता संस्कृति का आभूषण विशेष है, इतनी सहनशीलता नहीं और संस्कृतियों में शेष है। वसुधैव कुटुंबकम का गौरवपूर्ण दृष्टिकोण, ऐसी दृष्टि वाले विश्व की और संस्कृति कौन। पूरे जग को अपना कह हम सबको अपनाते हैं, त्याग दया के पोषक हम समाधानी कहलाते हैं। सनातन ही सबको अपनाता, चांदनिया साई बन जाता। सूफी संत है निर्गुण गाता, हिंदू है मजार पर जाता। भारतीय संस्कृति में ही आश्रम वर्ण व्यवस्था है। धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष में हमारी बड़ी ही आस्था है। आध्यात्मिक ज्ञान के साथ ही हुआ विज्ञान विकास, कोई भी ऐसी संस्कृति न दूजा है, ऐसा मेरा विश्वास। प्राचीन ऋषि मुनियों ने रचे गीता, वेद, पुराण, यहाँ और भी धर्म ग्रंथ है, जैसे बाइबल और कुरान। किसी भी धर्म का हो ग्रंथ हम करते हैं, सबका सम्मान है, इसलिए तो कहते हैं भारतीय संस्कृति महान है। भाषा अनेक है यहाँ पर, यहाँ जाति भी अनेक है, फिर भी भारतीय संस्कृति सबको बनाती एक है। धर्म अनेक है, अनेक शिष्टाचार और व्यवहार, फिर भी मिलजुल कर मनाते सर्वधर्म त्योहार। धर्मनिरपेक्षता, उदारता और एकता इसकी पहचान। खान पान पोशाक यहाँ पर पाते अति विशिष्ट स्थान। नमस्ते अरेंज मैरिज, संयुक्त परिवार परिपाटी है। रीति रिवाजों से सुवासित यहाँ की माटी है। भारतीय संस्कृति नहीं, जीवन जीने की विधि है। यही इस संस्कृति की अत्यंत बहुमूल्य निधि है। नारियों का इस संस्कृति में विशेष ही पहचान है। इसलिए यहाँ दुर्गा, काली आदि की बड़ी ही मान है। भारतीय संस्कृति बेमिसाल है, लाजवाब है। इसकी गौरव गाथा का नहीं कोई जवाब है। इंसानियत, उदारता, एकता, धर्मनिरपेक्षता अपनाएंगे, समता, समन्वय, सदाचार से इसे समृद्ध बनाएंगे। थैंक यू।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मोदी जी, आपने तो भारतीय संस्कृति का A to Z तक सब कुछ बोल दिया। थैंक यू वेरी मच। थैंक यू वेरी मच। मैं अभी दूसरे साथी तो आ जाइए, अपने भारत भूषण जी। भारत भूषण जी,
आवाज आ रही है क्या?
आज थोड़ा धीरे आ रहा है।
नमस्कार, आ रही है?
थोड़ा शायद कम है, थोड़ा माइक के नजदीक आएंगे आप?
मैं माइक पास ले लिया है। हेलो,
ठीक है, बोलिए बोलिए। थोड़ा सा मेरे को तो धीरे सुनाई दे रहा है।
आई डोंट नो क्या प्रॉब्लम है सर।
ठीक, हाँ करिए, आप बोलिए बोलिए, शुरू करिए।
हेलो,
हाँ शुरू करिए, शुरू करिए।
सबकी सुनो कार्यक्रम में मैं आप सभी का हार्दिक वंदन, अभिनंदन और नमन करता हूँ। सर्वप्रथम मैं आदरणीय डॉक्टर सेन गुप्ता जी का आभारी हूँ कि उन्होंने मुझको आज अपने मनोभाव प्रकट करने का एक अवसर प्रदान किया। थैंक यू वेरी मच डॉक्टर सेन गुप्ता सर। साथियों, एक प्रश्न मेरे मन में अक्सर बार बार उठता रहता है, जिसका उत्तर ना पाकर मैं विचलित हो जाता हूँ। फिर भी वो प्रश्न दोबारा आता है, फिर भी मुझे कोई उत्तर नहीं मिलता। इसी प्रश्न को आज आपसे मैं साझा करना चाहता हूँ। साथियों, ये सर्वविदित है कि सृष्टि का निर्माण विधाता ने किया। उसने इसकी खूबसूरत रचना कर एक से एक बढ़कर नायाब वस्तुएं हमें दी। प्रकृति के माध्यम से अनमोल खजाना, सूरज, चांद, सितारे, धरती, आकाश आदि सभी कुछ दिया, और इसके अतिरिक्त भी उन्होंने बहुत कुछ दिया है ताकि हम अपना जीवन सुखपूर्वक और आनंद से बिता सकें। लेकिन साथ ही साथ कुछ ऐसे शब्दों के जोड़े भी बने हैं जो स्वभाव में परस्पर विपरीत हैं, लेकिन एक दूसरे के पूरक हैं। एक दूसरे को छोड़ना भी संभव नहीं है और उनको उनसे अलग होना भी संभव नहीं है। ये जोड़े इस प्रकार हैं, उदाहरण के लिए जीवन मृत्यु। जीवन है तो मृत्यु भी है, एक दूसरे के पूरक हैं। रात दिन, खुशी गम, जमीन आसमान, सीधा कमजोर बलवान आदि इस तरह के जोड़े बनाए हैं जो एक दूसरे के विपरीत भी हैं और पूरे भी हैं। ऐसा ही एक जोड़ी जिस पर मैं आपका ध्यान चाहता हूँ वो है अधिकार और कर्तव्य। इसी की थोड़ी करनी है। किसी भी व्यवस्था को चलाने के लिए हेलो,
हाँ अब बोलिए बोलिए, सुन रहे हैं।
हेलो,
बोलिए साहब, सुन रहे हैं, सुन रहे हैं।
किसी भी व्यवस्था को चलाने के लिए, चाहे वह परिवार की हो, राष्ट्र की हो, समाज की हो, या के लिए हमारा कुछ कर्तव्य भी है। दोनों में से किसी एक को नजरअंदाज कर हम रह नहीं सकते। यदि यह कल्पना करें कि यह दुनिया का एक तराजू है, यह दुनिया एक तराजू है और उसके दो पलड़े हैं, और ये दोनों एक अधिकार और जब तक इनमें संतुलन बना रहता है तब तक सब कुछ ठीक रहता है। अन्यथा व्यवस्था शब्दों के इन हमारे लिए हानिकारक है और हमारी प्रगति को बाधित करता है। देश के वर्तमान परिप्रेक्ष्य में अगर हम देखें कि देश को आजादी लगभग हो गए हैं, लेकिन अधिकार और कर्तव्य खींचातानी जरा भी कम नहीं हुई। आजाद देश होने के बाद हम लोगों ने अपने लोकता को अपनाया था, जिसके अंतर्गत हमारे ही कुछ चुने हुए प्रतिनिधि हमारा मार्गदर्शन करेंगे, संसद आकर सब उनसे हमने आशा की थी कि ये हमारे ये कुछ करेंगे। इसके लिए उनको कुछ विशेष अधिकार भी मिले, लेकिन जब उन्होंने पद संभाला वहां जाकर देखा कि इस जगह तो राष्ट्र हित के स्थान पर अपना स्वार्थ सिद्ध करने का बहुत अच्छे अवसर हैं। उनमें से कुछ लोग जो हैं वो कर्तव्य भूलकर अपने अधिकारों के लिए लड़ते गए। अपने अधिकार ही घोटालों की लंबी माला और आपराधिक प्रति के लोगों का व्यवस्था में शामिल होना इसका एक उदाहरण है। एक ऐसा वातावरण बन गया जब सब लोग अधिकारों के पीछे भागने लगे, तब एक ही अवहेलना करने लगे। जहाँ मंत्री से संतरी तक सभी अधिकार को ही महत्व देते रहे, पर इसके साथ कर्तव्य को हम अनसुनी करते चले गए। जिधर देखो सिर्फ अधिकार की बातें होती हैं। उद्योगों में नेताओं ने श्रमिकों को एक नारा दिया था, हमारी मांगी इंडस्ट्री में को मिलता था। और यहाँ इन्होंने नेताओं ने अपना हित साधने के लिए श्रमिकों को अधिकार के लिए तो प्रेरित किया, लेकिन किसी ने उनसे ये नहीं कहा कि अधिकार के साथ साथ तुम्हारा काम करने का भी कुछ कर्तव्य है, उस इंडस्ट्री प्रति तुम्हारा कुछ दायित्व। और इसीलिए ऐसा लगता है कि ये नेता लोग अगर उनको मोटिवेट करते, आजादी यदि अधिकार है तो कर्तव्य हमारा उसकी रक्षा करना भी है। देश के स्वतंत्र गंगाधर तिलक जी ने एक महत्वपूर्ण नारा दिया था, स्वतंत्र हमारा जन्मसिद्ध अधिकार है। इस नारे से प्रेरित हुए लाखों लोगों ने देश के आंदोलन में, आजादी की लड़ाई में बढ़ चढ़कर भाग लिया। लेकिन मुझे उनके जैसा हम सबको इस बात के लिए भी प्रेरित करता कि स्वतंत्रता हमारा अधिकार तो है, जो भी है, किसी का भी ध्यान नहीं गया। इसलिए हमको कर्तव्य वो नहीं होगा तो कभी भी हम प्रगति खुशहाल नहीं हो सकते। यदि आजादी हमारी जो आजादी हमारे असंख्य शहीदों ने बलिदान दे करके हमें दी, अब ऐसा लगता है कि वो भी शायद खतरे में ना पड़ जाए। एक और बात, ऐसा माना जा द्वापर को बड़े कलाओं में पूर्ण माना जाता है, इसके बावजूद राज्य के लिए कि राम जो है वो मर्यादा के प्रतीक हैं। यदि हम मर्यादा दायित्व का पालन करते प्रगति करता रहेगा और यदि इससे दूर हटेंगे, मेरा आप सबसे अनुरोध है उसके प्रति सजग रहे, तभी हमारा हो सकता है। अंत में यही कहूं कि शिष्य की भक्ति रहेंगी, पीड़ा से चिल्लाएगी, कर्तव्य पथ की महिमा न समझी तो वीडियो नहीं था ना, वो भाई आवाज नहीं आ रही।
हेलो
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 हेलो,
हो गया ना आपका?
दिया सर।
भारत भूषण जी का एंकरिंग मैं करना नहीं चाहता था, लेकिन केवल एक चीज यह बोलना चाहता हूँ। भारत भूषण जी का जो थोड़ा सा ऑडियो में प्रॉब्लम आया था, तो उन्होंने बहुत एक अच्छी बात कही, दैट यू मस्ट अप्रिशिएट दैट वी नीड टू बैलेंस बिटवीन आवर responsibilities, duties and the rights. And what he tried to say is also to some extent is correct, that the probably we have overemphasized on our rights rather than performing duties. Possibly that is one of the weaknesses of the system, and that is the weaknesses of the democracy actually, that the people have normally a tendency to focus on the rights than the responsibilities, and possibly that is one of the weaknesses of the Indian democracy, and we are facing certain problems because of that. ये बात बताने के लिए काफी I mean to say this is one of the not the unique thing of India, it's a unique thing in many other countries of the world also, but definitely it is one of the unique aspects of India. Thank you, Bharat Bhushan, very much. May I request Ramani Iyer sir to talk on, he is going to talk on two unique aspects of the Indian India. Ramani Iyer ji, please come, sir. Mr. Ramani Iyer.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
You are audible, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, friends. My theme for today's talk is Unique India. As you surf the net, you will come across several extraordinary features of India, like a vast country of 3.3 million square kilometers in area, a population of 1.3 billion, the world's most multiracial, multilingual, multi-religious society, a country which attained independence through non-violent revolution after centuries of foreign domination, and so on. Also, we have some unique features of recent origin, like we completed during the COVID 2 billion vaccinations for all the people who are eligible. And also, from statistics, we know that India is unique, that it has the largest number of mosques in the whole world, 300,000 mosques, although the Muslim population is only around 18% of the country. So we have many extraordinary features, but what I am going to talk today is to highlight the unique nature of Indian democracy, which has contributed to prosperity and social harmony. India has enjoyed more than 7 decades of democracy so far without civil war, coup, dictatorship, or any attempt for national disintegration. This is unique considering the situation in much smaller countries around us in the neighborhood, particularly in Asia. Out of the 195 countries of the world today, India can be proud to be the most vibrant of the various, about a dozen or so, stable democracies. Most of the countries, most of the countries of Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America have suffered authoritarian regimes in one form or the other during the past few decades. In less than 3 years of attaining freedom, India had framed a constitution which has proved to be flexible enough to hold the country together and to adjust to the demands of social and economic changes with a democratic framework. The written constitution of India has been adopted as the model for several new countries while framing their own constitutions. Realizing that elections are the backbone of any democracy, all men and women who were aged 21 or more had the right to vote in India at the time of our independence, at the time of our becoming a republic. Considering the fact that many countries faced enormous struggle before introducing universal franchise, it is remarkable that despite the high percentage of illiteracy and low standard of education in the early 50s, adult franchise was provided from day one of the Indian Republic. The age limit for voting has since been lowered to 18 years, considering the level of literacy and also the educational facilities that have become available. Elections have been held regularly whenever it became due. In the last general elections held in the year 2019, nearly 900 million voters were registered, out of which close to 68% exercised their franchise. Progressively, this percentage is increasing. By and large, these elections have been free and fair, and any loopholes which surface in the process of elections are addressed by the Election Commission and judiciary from time to time. The judiciary is independent of the executive and functions as the guardian and interpreter of the constitution. India is a union of states with a federal structure where states enjoy freedom in quite a few matters. Indian democracy faced and addressed ethnic and linguistic issues through political, constitutional, and electoral processes. The formation of linguistic states is also one such process where the linguistic requirements of people were met. And also, we know when Goa was annexed to the Indian Union, there was a referendum to find out to which state they would prefer to join. And it turned out the majority wanted to remain as an independent unit. And so initially it was a union territory. Subsequently, it became the state of Goa. There are special provisions in India for religious and linguistic minorities. Minority representatives and women have held important positions like President, Prime Minister, Chief Minister of State, Cabinet Minister, and mayors of metro cities in India. Social harmony prevails across the country except for occasional sporadic disquiet due to localized issues. At the time of independence, close to 6 million refugees from Pakistan, Nepal, Tibet, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka belonging to various ethnic, religious, and linguistic groups entered India, and they have all been peacefully absorbed. On the other hand, persons of Indian origin who opted to go to Pakistan in 1947 are still called muhajirs or refugees in that country. In spite of threats and aggressions over the years, India has remained a non-aligned democracy with very good relations with most of the countries. Democracy is a gift from the patriotic national leaders to the citizens of India and is very precious and of immense value. Large voter turnout would signify a substantial involvement of the common people in strengthening democracy in India. I conclude by saying the democracy in India is certainly unique in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramanir sir. Talking about the Indian democracy and more particularly the strengths of the Indian democracy, the uniqueness of the Indian democracy. Thank you very much. May I request our next speaker, Naveen Duggalji.
भाइयों और बहनों, my dear elders and my dear MRL family members and the whole world fraternity of Indians. I want to thank first of all not only MRL or Dr. A.K. Sengupta, but our elders and our parents and teachers who have brought us to this culture. Even though whether we are in India or abroad, there are certain factors that has changed our way of thinking or approach. First of all, it is the home faith that when we are brought up, in which environment we are brought up, education, resources, country, and while we were abroad, our great grandfathers who went after the World War I abroad were settled there, and they had attachment that like there was the Brahma Samaj and the Arya Samaj and the Sanatan and various other Muslim, Christian, Buddhist faiths, all had their own cultural attachment which they carried forward as they went for a job on the British rules. But later on, when they got educated, they got a technological change, they brought out their planning and how I would be able to handle this job in a better way. They were told, बच्चा जब जा रहे हो काम पे अच्छी तरह से काम करना और घर लौट आना सही सलामत, मतलब return home safely. That was the message of our elders in those days. But later on, the generations changed and we lived in those countries. What has happened that we got attached to their technology, cultural aspect, where a lot of differences, hindrances were there. But I do appreciate that most part of the Indian societies, especially South, whether it is Bengal, whether it is Maharashtra, whether it is Punjab, each one brought their little factors of their goodness faith. Like some people started with the Gurdwara, some people with the temples, some people started with the South Indian societies, like for example, having the cultural dance and musical societies, vagara, through the Indian embassies. Unfortunately, because we were attached to the setup, we were managing to a level, but the new generation said, well, I am going to stay in this part of the world abroad. Why should I care about India? So there was very surprising that there were farmers and laborers gone to New Zealand, Australia, and Fiji Islands, where today also there are DAV schools run by in Fiji, but whereas in America, whereas in Australia and New Zealand, they only say, oh, we are the origins as farmers. But the new technology says, oh yeah, our names are Indians, but we are not Indian because we are born, brought up here. This is their political stand, that once our talent is gone to America or any part of the world or a Gulf or anywhere, we only strive since we get the आराम से बहुत जीने को मिल रहा है, अच्छा पैसा मिल रहा है. So first 30, 40, 50 years we are happy. But what is the elderly age? How do we spend with other people? The community services. There we are hated. There we are looted. There we are, while you're just doing nothing, just trying to sit and do meditation, and somebody comes and slaps you just because you happen to be Indian. We should be proud Indians to defend ourselves, come what may. We should balance our inner feelings, our Indian values at home, our education of the Indian society, the language we speak, the values of culture, and respect for each other, rather than just talking on the ethnic or political or otherwise saying about others. Why not we say, no matter who I am an Indian, and I will do, no matter it is high, low, rich, poor. If these differences are removed, I think we can go ahead in a better way to the next millennium or for the 2050. I am sure that I was presented one small trophy. That is when I joined the Indian club, and every time, whenever there was any function, we were called, irrespective of caste, religion, that भाई सबको इकट्ठे होना है. हम हमारे भारतीय के इस होने के कारण हमें ध्वज salute our Vande Mataram, have the flag hosting, everything as per requirement, but within the contained background, because those countries don't accept our religion. They don't accept us, whether we are British, whether we are American passport holders, have no value. It is called second-class citizens. I feel that even after 40 years abroad, I came back to this country and adopted to this requirement, whether I have to learn Marathi or Malayalam or anywhere, I should be surviving here. If I could have survived there for money's sake, but I have to have my integrity, my patriotism, and third is how I can help you. With this, I end Sangachatvam, Vasudev Kutumbam. Every Indian is precious, and I respect each one's feeling. No matter what we are, but we should be together, then we stand strong and ever. Jai Hind. Salute.
थैंक यू नवीन जी. देखिए, इसमें दो तीन चीजें हैं जो थोड़ा बहुत आपने कंट्रोवर्शियल भी बोला, लेकिन ठीक भी बोला. That there are Indians, if you look into our foreign direct investment or whatever you look at it, a substantial chunk comes also from the Indians. That means the prosperity of the Indian to I don't say large extent, but to some extent depends upon the Indians who are residing abroad, particularly in some of the states. For example, Kerala, there is a significant population which is staying abroad and they are sending money. Punjab, a significant amount of foreign direct investment is happening in Punjab through the NRI remittances coming from there. So actually they are helping the country directly or indirectly, number one.
Yes.
Number two, you rightly said that the people are losing their identity sometimes. That's a problem today, because in my experience has been that many people of the who are mainly the Indians, not who have gone abroad, but mainly the Indians who have been born there. They have not seen India. Many of the people, they a little bit lose their identity. So definitely there is a need for. Therefore, if you look at the current government, particularly look at it, there's a lot of focus on Indian diaspora. The idea of the Indian diaspora is to attract the Indianness, not to ask them to come back to India. That will not help. But I'm talking about to encourage the spirit of Indian patriotism, so that they help the the Indians, they helped India, they helped the growth of Indian economy and so on and so forth. तो आपने अच्छा चीज बोला that the जो भी बाहर में है उनको इंडियन ने सबसे बड़ी चीज होनी चाहिए, पेट्रियोटिज्म सबसे बड़ी चीज होनी चाहिए, और उनको ये बोलना चाहिए इंडिया महान कंट्री है. Thank you for bringing out that thing. May I request Krishmani madam to please come forward and talk about the Indian folk, I think with a particular reference to, she's talking on Maharashtra. Yes, madam.
Thank you, sir, and good evening, friends. Folk culture as such is globally appreciated by in any country. Indian folk culture is characterized by its simplicity. Folklore has a vital role in handing down the norms, customs, spiritual know-how, and information, and in preserving the social shape very strong. The defining feature of a folk culture is basically that it is localized form of culture. There could be similarities in many states of India, but are marked by its uniqueness also. For example, the Kolatam with ribbon formation is similar to the Dandiya of Gujarat. Same way, the Kaikotikali of Kerala, the Gumi of Tamil Nadu, and the Mangladar of Maharashtra are few examples. They are all unique in its own way. So today I'm going to try to throw light on some of the Maharashtrian folk culture. To cover it all, it is impossible. There are many tribal communities like Bills, Madhav, Kolis, Gons, and Varlis. We all know about the Varli paintings, who occupy the land in the Deccan Plateau. Actually, these people have their own way of celebrations, usher in the bountiful harvest festivals, and in marriages by dancing to the high-pitched tunes of Tarpa. It's also known as Tarpa Nritya. And Maharashtrians are known for a dance for every occasion, which accompanies most of the festivals. For example, the Ashadi Ekadashi is always brings to our mind about the Varkaris and the Dindi, and also the Abangs sung by many. We all know how the Varkaris walk up to the Vithala temple barefoot, singing Vitoba Mauli, and some Abangs also on the way. And Eknath ji had a unique way of promoting his spirituality, which is a bhajan or a narration in a rhythmic one with a metaphor in it. So his this thing is called as Bhanud. That is how he promoted spirituality at a time when we were not free so much. And the population that resides on the seashore are known as the Koli community, who are one of the earliest to settle in the island of Bombay those days. And they are very vibrant community. The men, as we all know, goes to the sea for fishing, and the women folk pray to sea god and worship Equira Devi for the safe return of their spouses. Because of the risk involved in going into the sea, deep sea. And on Nayar Purnima also they offer puja. And who will not move to the rhythm of Koli dance among any of us here? It's a very vibrant dance. Automatically we wave to the sound of Vallore and Akwao. From the seashore, let's get to the village. Village celebrates something called as Gundal. As I said, for any occasion they have in Maharashtra, we have the dances. This dance is called Gundal, and the performers are known as Gundalis. They are all mostly men, and when somebody gets married, they make them sit there and they sing the Gundalis, and it is Gundalis because there were no lights those days, and they dance with mashal, which makes the ambience very, very great and serene for enjoying the dance of theirs. After that, we go to a Konkan, a beautiful coastal Konkan, where the traditional dance is called Jakadi. And also some people call it this thing. So the Jakadi is with the rhythm of a dole and very inspiring dolki rhythm with chals, that is the, you call it gunguru type, tied to the right leg. So the drummist and everyone sits in the middle and the singers, and the people go around. It makes even the audience dance to their tune. It is similar to Navratri Garba with everybody in the middle and we all go around. It's something like that. So that is the similarity, but uniqueness is also there. And in Shravan, we all know the Mangalagaur festival by the Maharashtrian women folk. And I am in awe of them, irrespective of age. They have the dance which is very flexible, going in different forms of one second, Fugdi, and it is really awesome to see 80 plus ladies also doing like that with folded legs and moving in different ways possible. I don't think even I would. It's a pleasure to watch them literally. Then we have something called as Jogua and Paradi. Jogua is where a woman goes with a pallu and take bhiksha from each house in the village, and she's supposed to survive out of that bhiksha only. They are called jogins. And Paradi is something, a woven basket. They collect puja items from each house and worship the Devi in their village. And they tell mythological stories also. So after this, it comes the entertainment area, Navarasas. Who doesn't appreciate Lavani, which is mostly of the Sringar Rasa, and a beautiful rhythm and beautiful dancers? You should see the art side of it, and it has to be preserved for the best art. And not to forget the Natya Sangeet, which forms the ethnic tissue of Maharashtrian culture. And who can forget our Balgandharva? Actually, they had dramas for social themes. In the British times, they were not allowed to like preaching or doing anything. So, like Lokmanya Tilak created Ganesh Puja, this Natya Sangeet created platform like Kichakavada, which was finally banned by British also. And the uniqueness of this is the males only used to play the part of females, and Balgandharva must have played a lot of female characters with his strong singing. I don't think the Maharashtrians will ever stop listening to Natya Sangeet. It's real nectar to the ears and so beautifully rendered by people. These are a few pearls in the ocean of the rich folk culture of Maharashtra. There are many where I have spent more than 7 decades in this Maharashtra. Like Pardi, which they do it, sing for the childbirth, then Malhari, and many more. And Gauran. If you go and see, I will spend the whole session by talking about Maharashtrian culture. And there are lots of Maharashtrians who are more knowledgeable than me. If I have made any mistakes or omissions, sorry for that. Thank you so much, MRL, for this platform.
Thank you, Krishnaveni, madam. It was an eye-opener, at least for me. But it is true for every state of the country that every state has got, in India, has got a similar but distinctive nature of arts as you go from village to village even. If you go from area to area, if you go from sect to sect, if you go from subsect to subsect, if you go from dialect to subdialect, you will see different types of uniqueness of the cultural aspects, whether it's a dance format, whether it's a movements, whether it's the language, whether it's speaking, everything, whether the food habits, I mean, everything undergoes a change. So thanks a lot for bringing out this uniqueness of the great Maharashtrian culture. Thank you very much. Now, next our speaker is on Indian culture uniqueness on a similar type of topic, Jaya Gopal, madam. Yes, madam.
Good evening, everyone. Is it audible, sir?
Yeah, very much audible. Please go ahead.
I'm going to talk about traditions and customs. Looking back in India's history, we will find it is full of traditions and customs. These traditions are still practiced and hold a similar relevance. When customs and beliefs are transferred from generation to generation, they become tradition. Every family finds tranquility in their tradition and rituals, and these traditions only keep people going adrift. Every country, society, state, or family practices and preserves their traditions and pass them on to the future generation in a hope of keeping the tradition alive. Tradition has also a lot to do with the moral upbringing and superstition of a society. To make it interesting, let us look at tradition from health point of view. Our grandparents were storing and drinking water from copper utensils. Practice can boost your immune system, decrease wound healing, and strengthen joints and improves digestion as well. Walking barefoot on grass improves sleep, reduce pain, decrease muscle tension, and lower stress level. Ear piercing is being practiced in India since time immemorial. According to Ayurveda, the lobe of the ear has an important point right in the center. It helps in maintaining female's reproductivity system and balancing menstrual cycle. Eating with hands is healthy for gut, helps in forming a connection with food, which makes the food more tastier. Fasting has been punctually followed by many Indians for years together. It helps in weight loss, speeding up metabolism, and improving brain function, and also increasing longevity. Surya Namaskar, composed of 12 yoga poses for healthy well-being, helps in losing weight, improves digestion, get a glowing skin, improves sleep cycle, and even brings blood sugar down. One of the most popular customs and tradition is the Namaste greeting. In the word Namaha, Nama means not mine, signifies reduction of ego, and during coronavirus, we have experienced it as a good alternative to shaking hands. Atithi Devo Bhava, meaning the guest is equivalent to God. In Indian culture, guests have always been given supreme importance. A joint family in India is where the entire family all live together. The head of the family is the Karta, who makes economic and social decisions on behalf of the entire family. Advantage of this is helping each other and sharing knowledge, and children learn respect and live together with the entire family. There has been a gradual disintegration of joint family system and emerge of nuclear family. This is sad part. Food. Every region in India has its signature dish. Herbs and spices used for flavor, aromas, and it has healing properties too. Huge varieties of festivals represents India's rich culture and tradition, with statewide, religion-based and community-focused festivals like Diwali, Holi, Vaishakhi, Mahavir Jayanti, Christmas, etc. Kolam and Rangoli designs have been traditionally handed down to the younger generation by elders to revive the interest in traditional habits and customs. Traditional beauty treatments have been handed down by word of mouth and practiced down the generation in India. Prostrating before parents or elders reduces personal arrogance and creates an environment of mutual love and respect among people, ensuring harmony in the family and society. Great wishes from elders make positive vibration. The crux of Indian society has always been to be well-mannered, polite, respect each other, and progress together. It is vital to preserve all these traditions and customs to maintain the uniqueness of India. Tradition is the illusion of permanence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, madam. Bringing out the positive side of the richness of the Indian tradition.
Thank you so much.
And your last part was excellent, that we need to preserve the Indian tradition.
Yes,
so
that
that
is
so that uniqueness
we-
of India's culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
May I request the next speaker, Anand Saxena Sahab, to please come.
Thank you, Dr. Sengupta sir. I am audible?
Yeah, audible, sir. Very much.
So first of all, I thank you very much for allowing me to speak on my very favorite program of MRL, सबकी सुनो. आपने कई बार मुझे चांस दिया और आज एक बार फिर आपका मैं आभार प्रकट करता हूँ इस मंच पे बोलने के लिए. My topic is India's inventions and discoveries. India has given many reasons to be proud of. From greatest scholars like Aryabhatta, Homi J. Bhabha, APJ Kalam, to eminent scientists like C.V. Raman, Satyendranath Bose, and many more. India is witness of numerous stories of achievements and inventions that made difference around the globe and made India as incredible and prominent in the global map. And not only this, it has given its contributions in the fields of astronomy, architecture, metallurgy, logic, mathematics, medicine, automobile, engineering, communications, information technology, space research, etc. Right from the discovery of zero by Aryabhatta to the flush toilets to other modern technologies, we come across several inventions and discoveries in India, which are accepted by everyone across the globe and for which we should be proud of. There are a number of inventions and discoveries for which India is pioneer, and I will mention few of them because of the time limit. Zero, it was around 458 AD. The concept of zero first appeared in India. Hindu astronomer and mathematician named Aryabhatta. He was the first person to create symbol of zero, and it was through his efforts that mathematical operations like addition, subtraction started using zero. Also, the number system that we use today with decimal place value and zero was also invented in India. Next come radio and wireless communication. In 1905, though Marconi received Nobel Prize in Physics for his efforts in development of wireless technology, but not many know that it was Sir Jagdish Chandra Bose who made the first public demonstration of radio communication waves in 1895. That's just 2 years before Marconi's demonstration in England. One thing more I want to mention that revolutionary demonstration of Sir Jagdish Chandra Bose formed the technology used in mobile telephony, radios, satellite communication, radio television, broadcast, Wi-Fi. Because of this, we are meeting on Zoom, radio television, remote controls, and countless other applications that are used widely these days. Then diamonds also, India got the first time. It was first discovered in India. Huge deposit of diamonds were found in the midst of alluvial deposits along the rivers of Krishna and Godavari in central India that time. They were mined 5,000 years ago. Gradually, they were developed into precious stones. Till 18th century, India was the only country where diamonds were found. And later on, these are found in the mines of Brazil also. Systematic organized education system. That's very important. How we can forget our ancient Takshila, Nalanda, and other universities which introduced a systematic education system. Residential schooling or school with hostel in ancient terminology, they were called gurukuls. And they also started in India where single teacher taught several students at a time. Now some medical treatments also India got the first one. India is the first one. India was the first to identify leprosy, and many remedies for the disease were found in Atharva Veda. The treatment, renaming some, was first introduced in India. Other contributions of India to the world include chess. It was also invented in India first time. Snakes and ladders, yoga, then basmati rice. You may not be knowing, but basmati rice also, India was the first to produce. Plastic surgery, fibers, optics, etc. Natural fibers also, the India was the first one. The very natural fibers like wool and cotton originated in India. Prior to this, Greeks used to wear animal skins. during 5th and 4th millennium BC. In the Indian Valley civilization, people started cotton, cultivation of cotton and jute. India invented the art of cotton spinning into thread and thread into fabric. Even the Kashmiri wool, it was derived from the Kashmiri goat. It was made in Kashmir for the first time. Then very important thing, USB. You all know USB can store data up to 80 GB. The European Union honored India-born inventor Ajay Bhatt led team at the US Giant Intel meeting that developed universal serial bus. USB technology, one of the most important and advanced in computing Silicon Valley. And last, it will folly on my part if I don't mention the names of our eminent Indians. And one is Dr. C.V. Raman. He was called Sir Chandrasekhar Venkataraman. And he was the recipient of Nobel Prize in 1930 for the discovery that when light passes through transparent material, some of the light that is reflected and its wavelength changes. And this Raman effect was used in many optical things and physics and optics. And the second one is poet Rabindranath Tagore. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature on 13 November 1913. He was the first Indian who got the Nobel Prize for his collection Gitanjali. I think originally it was written in Bengali. It was published in London in 1912. The prize gained even more significance by being given to an Indian for the first time. The honor established Tagore's literary reputation worldwide. These are some of the inventions and discoveries which brought fame to India and glorified India in the whole world. After all, सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू सक्सेना जी. आपने जब पुराने जमाने से लेकर आज तक के जितने भी इंडियंस के जितने भी इन्वेंशन थे काफी अच्छी तरह से आपने बोला. आई थिंक दैट्स ए वेरी गुड summary of the discoveries and inventions made by India. Thank you very much. I think if you look at all these topics, they have excellently covered the uniqueness of India. Now, any company बोलिए, nation बोलिए, society बोलिए, उसका जो human resources है, the quality of the human resources that determine the future of any country. Like the quality of the human resources determine the future of any company, and it's true for any country also. So if you look at the quality of the human resources in India, it is probably one of the best in the world. There are no two opinions about it, because if one looks at the the leading companies abroad, if you look at many of the leading companies abroad, the CEOs, etc., or the leading scientists are all Indians. And therefore, there is no doubt about it that the quality of the human Indians by and large is excellent as far as the Indians residing abroad. Now, one of the unique things about India, one of very, very unique thing about India is that it's a very, very young country. And if you look in the bigger countries of the world, the larger countries of the world, or the countries that matter in the world, India is the youngest country in the world today. Of course, there are younger countries than India, but I mean to say, I'm talking about the bigger countries or the more powerful countries. India is the youngest country in the world. And when you talk about the Indian youngest country, there are two statistics. Just I'll quote you. The one is that the median age, that is not an average age, the central age, the median age of the India is hardly 29 years. So you can imagine that if the median age is 29 years, that essentially means that we are a very, very young nation. The second indicator is what we talk about, a very important concept, जिसको हम बोलते हैं democratic dividend. Democratic dividend का मतलब है that एक country के अंदर में कितने लोग काम कर सकते हैं, and that is defined by the World Bank as the population between 15 years and 64 years. That's the age which is considered as an employable category people. And today in India, roughly about 67% of the people in India roughly about 67% people of the India, they're between the age of 15 and 64. That means we have got the largest number of the people in the world, almost the largest number of the people in the world who are in the employable category. And that's what is called a demographic dividend. That means there is a tremendous amount of a potential for India as a young nation. And therefore, you will see that the young Indians are bringing out a lot of innovations in India. They are bringing out a lot of new things in India. The Indian society has become a very spending type of a society. Indian society has become very aspirational type of a society. Indian society has become a very vibrational society. You move out anywhere, any street, you will see that the young people moving out, dancing around, dining around, walking around, working around. I mean, there are a lot of youth vibration in India. You can see it's not only true in India. When you go abroad, you will see one out of every 4 people in the world. You will see that anywhere in the world, if you go, you will see that a young Indian is standing out. So that is the strength of the democratic dividend of India. But if there is a problem there, the problem there is that the agar is young dividend available hai India mein, that will be available only after 2050. After that, India is also going to become aged. That means we will fall into the category of the China actually. Once we reach the 2050, that means we have got a hardly 25-30 years to go before we can bring the leverage of this particular young India. Because if this young India has to, as I told you, it is very aspirational India. Therefore, if this aspirational India ko agar productive India mein convert karne ka hai, so you need a higher amount of quality of education, you need health care, you need a lot of skilling efforts for the Indians, which does not exist in India. That's the problem today, that there is not much of an educational facility which are available in India. And therefore, there is an exodus of the Indian good people abroad. As I told you at the initial stage, that many of the Indian CEOs, I mean, say many of the CEOs all over the world, they're Indian origin. They are all educated partially in India and then they go abroad. So there is a lack of access of education here. There is a lack of access of healthcare over here. There is a lot of skilling opportunities in India, lot of skilling opportunities, reskilling, upskilling opportunities in India. And therefore, the latest study, the Skilling World Report, that says that in India, though the percentage has gone up to 44%, but more than 50% of the graduates in India, more than 50%, it is a very, very strong statistic. That more than 50% of the graduates in India, it is about 55% of India, they are unemployable. So, jo country mein 55% of the youth are unemployable, you can imagine that the demographic dividend might become a demographic nightmare. And therefore, the government is aware of these things. And this is the government is aware, therefore, there is now a focus to bring, upgrade the quality of education. Therefore, the national education policy have come up. There is a focus of the improving the skilling, and therefore, the human development of the skilling has got a separate ministry now. The minister is looking into how do we skill the young India, because if the young Indians, they have to change the destiny of the India in a positive way. You need a very positive, skilled India. So that's one problem which we are facing, that there is a lack of skilling, lack of education. The second thing in India, young India major problem, and that problem is the problem of the employment. That means what is happening is that since you are unemployable, as I told that more than 50% of the people are unemployable. So what is happening is actually you are getting a job. So unemployment is not a major problem in India as of now. Though after COVID, some figures have gone up, but unemployment has never been a problem in India. Underemployment is a major problem in India. This underemployment is a very, very serious problem in India. Underemployment का मतलब होता है कि अगर आपको $100 आपको salary मिलना चाहिए, आपको $40 ही मिल रहा है. So if you're looking at a comparative salary between an Indian drawing in India and a USA gentleman getting in USA, in terms of the same status, you will see there's a huge amount of difference, and difference is sometimes 10 times actually. So underemployment is a major problem in India, and underemployment leads to a lot of frustration. And therefore, youth in India, if you go and ask any youth in India, you will see he or she is not unemployed, but he or she is underemployed actually. So they are expecting about 80,000 rupees salary, 90,000 rupees salary, a lakh of salary in a month. They're hardly getting 10,000 rupees salary, 20,000 rupees salary, 30,000 rupees salary. That's one problem. And second is, you must have seen that when your advertisements come, that where you apply for a post of a peon, even the PhD people are applying there. So the advertisement is for the post of a peon or for a post of a scale for employee, and even the doctoral people are employed there. That essentially means that it is a serious problem of underemployment in India. So if the Indian uniqueness of a young India is to convert India into a rich and a prosperous India, because that is the objective or that is the characteristic of a young youth of a country, that you should use that youth for improving a lot of the country. अगर उसको बदलने का है तो हमारी एजुकेशन सिस्टम को बदलने का है, हमारी हेल्थ सिस्टम को बदलने का है, हमारी स्किलिंग सिस्टम को बदलने का है, और हमारी ऐसे सिस्टम तैयार करने का है जिसमें ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग एंटरप्रेन्योर बने, बट नौकरी के लिए नहीं जाए, क्योंकि नौकरी का अपॉर्चुनिटी में ज्यादा है नहीं. एंड देयरफॉर the success of India will lie that how many entrepreneurs will happen, and it is happening in a lot of unicorns are happening, a lot of new fintech companies are coming up, which are all driven by the Olas I'm talking about, or the lot of people, the phone pay. You look at many of these companies actually, they're promoted by very, very young Indians actually. So this is a very unique thing about India, that the uniqueness of India is the uniqueness of the youth in India. And this can lead to a very strong and prosperous India. But at the same time, this can also lead to an India which is a restless, because if the youth becomes restless, the country becomes restless. And if you can imagine that if the 67% of the people, I talked about 15 to 64, the 60% of the people become restless, the governments will fall. So that's the challenge which the governments are facing. Every state government is facing, central government is facing, they're aware of this particular problem. I thought, let me take this opportunity to bring out this particular uniqueness of India, because everybody has to understand the youth has an aspiration. So how do I meet that aspiration of youth? That is a big challenge before the India. With this, we come to end of this particular session of the Sabki Suno. We had a fascinating discussion. We had a fascinating interaction coming out with the different aspects of the Indian culture. We learned about the culture, we learned about the language, we learned about the diversity, we talked about the democracy, we talked about the rights versus duty, we talked about the non-resident Indian. I mean, we talked about all these things. So I mean, let's keep up the tempo of our discussions among each other, because these are the platforms जो हमको अपने views को share करने के लिए हमको दिए जाते हैं. So thanks a lot once again to all of you. Thank you very much.
मजा आ गया.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So much to learn from you all.
Very nice.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, sir, giving opportunity
Thank
and
you.
also sharing thought.
Jaya, you were excellent.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Sir,
much.
we are very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Very
Prakash.
happy.
Lovely
Giving a
program.
vivid picture
Lovely.
of young
And
Excellent
so
evening.
many
India
Excellent
as a young
program.
country. They have given
Yes.
so many things with data, and we are very grateful that you gave us some information. It was very informative with data. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
डॉक्टर
Thank
सैन
you.
गुप्ता सर,
बोलिए सर.
प्रणाम करता हूँ आपको.
प्रणाम करने की आवश्यकता नहीं है. हम वो देखिए प्रणाम के लिए तो नहीं है, बट बात ये देखिए हम एक दूसरे के बहुत ही आभारी रहते हैं, बहुत ही थैंकफुल रहते हैं. मैं बोलता ज्यादा नहीं हूँ, बहुत ही कम बोलता हूँ, लेकिन हाँ वो ठीक है. थैंक यू. वो तो मैं बताता ही रहता हूँ क्योंकि बताना ही कर्तव्य होता है. शिक्षक भी था, हम बता ही सकते हैं ज्यादा, और उससे ज्यादा तो कुछ कर नहीं सकते हैं. ज्यादा
जय हो.
बता सकते हैं, लोगों को मोटिवेट कर सकते हैं, बोल सकते हैं प्रॉब्लम क्या है, लेकिन प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने की तो उसके लिए तो अलग फोरम चाहिए ऑलटुगेदर.
सही बात है, बिल्कुल सही है.
अगर आपको जॉब्स क्रिएट करने हैं, हाई पेइंग जॉब्स क्रिएट करने हैं, तो देखिए प्रॉब्लम क्या इंडिया के अंदर में, इफ यू लुक एट द इंडियन इकोनॉमी, 5% ऑफ द पीपल दे आर कैप्चरिंग अबाउट 80% ऑफ द वेल्थ. तो जिस कंट्री में 5% ऑफ द पीपल कैरी 80% ऑफ द वेल्थ, and there is a huge amount of disparity of the wealth, तो उसमें यूथ को रेस्टलेस ना आता थोड़ा सा. So the data are high revealing. So we need to move forward by keeping this thing in mind and trying to what you call bridging the disparity between a rich person and a poor person by giving opportunities to all types of youth.
Very true, sir. Very true.
सर आपने अंडर एम्प्लॉयमेंट का जो concept बताया, that is very true.
Yes.
But I think it is an exploitation of the persons. For the one post, more than 100% they are applying for peon, even PhD and postgraduate, they are applying for it. And they are selecting from them because They are exploiting them. 100% they want employment and they will give only to one. So whatever conditions, whatever restriction they give, we have to accept it. That is the problem with it, sir.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. Exploitation होता है, उसे पाए में जॉब नहीं है तो हम भी अप्लाई करते हैं, क्या करें?
Correct.
कुछ ना कुछ तो चाहिए ना. एक भी जॉब
खाने के लिए तो कुछ चाहिए.
But the good point is nowadays startups are also being encouraged a lot.
Yeah, that's what I told, that startup is the solution. Startup is the solution.
Correct.
उसमें बहुत पैसा है, उसमें बहुत
हमको करना चाहिए और उसमें काफी अच्छा रहेगा.
हाँ, अभी गवर्नमेंट काफी कर रही है उसके पीछे में, स्टार्टअप के पीछे में. जैसे अभी मुद्रा लोन का भी जो स्कीम गवर्नमेंट ने शुरू किया है, that is only for keeping this in mind. मुद्रा लोन जो गवर्नमेंट ने शुरू किया है, so that's a good thing started by the new government. So
and they are giving
incentives
also.
lot of
लेक्चर हमने सुना था, उसमें कहते हैं कि अमेरिका में जो इंजीनियरिंग करते हैं तो मोस्टली he says that 50%, I don't know whether it is correct or not, 50% जो है उसमें से एंटरप्रेन्योर बनते